Okay, so our next step here is to loft these surfaces together, and this is the fun part. Now that we have the profiles mapped from a two-dimensional drawing into a three-dimensional object, we need to loft these together to create our hyperbolic surfaces. So what we don't need anymore is our reference curves, because we've used those and now we don't need them. And so all we should have up right now is our profile curves and our base curve. So we need to loft these, right? And we need to loft them as surfaces, so we need to change our layer. So I'm going to, under surfaces, the only layer you have there is lofted surfaces. So I'm going to highlight that one and select that as our current layer. So now let's just start with one side and let's work our way around to the other side. So I'm going to start here on this side. If everybody wants to get their orientation correct, I'm going to be working with these first on this side. So, okay. So let's do this first profile here. And what we need to do is we need to select two lines and loft them together. So I'm going to type the loft command. And I'm going to select the base point, or the base curve, sorry. And the reason why I'm selecting that is because it has the hyperbolic curvature to it, right? It's going to help us create that hyperbolic surface. Before I do that, I'm going to show you just, if I loft these two straight lines together, what is it doing for us? It's creating a flat surface, right? That's not what we want. What we want it to do is actually loft off this curve. So what we're going to do is we're going to re-loft again. And you have the option of choosing either one of these, but you definitely want to make sure to choose the bottom. And so I'm going to choose these two. And sometimes you get errors like this, which are annoying. So I'm going to try it again. There we go. So in order to not get that error, sometimes you have to select properly the order of how you're going to loft something. And so when I hit the loft command, it asks me to select curves. I'm actually going to select the black curve first, and then I'm going to select the blue one. That's the base. And when I hit enter, it did it again. There it goes. Sometimes it's touchy. So there, it went ahead and made our curvature for us. So after that's done, you can hit OK. And if there's something you notice about this already, you can see the lines that come up on the surface. You can see how they're already straight lines, right? So that's already proving to us right there that this is a curved surface made from a series of straight lines. So now that we have that one done, let's move on to our next one here. So our next one is going to be dealing with this curve, right? And maybe this line. The problem is that this line needs to be split. So we need to split it along this point here, so that way we can divide up the lofts. Now the reason why we have to do that is because we have this curve down here at the bottom, and we have this curve down here at the bottom. And since they're two individual curves, we need to divide them, right? And so that's what this line, the purpose of this line is, and why we need to split this right here. So everybody select that curve, and type in split. Go ahead and select that point to split off of, and hit enter. And it should say one curve split into two pieces. So now we've got two there. And now we can loft our next series of lines. So I'm going to select this line here and the base point. And I'm going to hit the space bar. I'm not going to change any loft options because it's doing a good job. And I'm just going to hit OK. So now it looks like we got our next loft. If you get inside of it here, you can really start to see how much it's hyperbolic there. Okay. So now that we split this line into two, now we can use it and the base curve to create our next loft. So let's select those two and loft. And there it is. So if I was trying to loft all this together, you'll be able to see why it doesn't work as well. I guess it worked pretty well. But it's one surface, right? And it might not come out as nice in the end. It's actually better to divide it into two separate pieces here. Okay, so our next one is we're going to do this crazy loft right here, right? And let's see if we could do it based off these two. So I'm going to select those two and type loft. And it looks like it did it for us. Okay. It's looking good. So I'm actually going to jump around to the other side and let's do this profile right here. So I got that one looks good. And then let's select those two, and now I finish that off to that point. If you notice, every single time I'm using a base curve and then one of the profile curves that I created. So almost every, or actually I should say every single one I've drawn so far has used a base curve. You notice how all the base curves now have lofted surfaces from them? And so it's a useful technique for when doing this. So now it seems like pretty much all the rest are just going to be in the center, right? We need to connect our two sides together. We have essentially one side here, and then we have our other side, our other three lofts here on that side. So now we need to connect them together. So let's select, and what I'm going to do is hide these lofts so that way they don't get in my way. And I'm going to select these two curves. And I'm going to go ahead and loft those together. It looks like it's making it for us there. And then we only have a couple more left, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hide the loft I just created, and I'm going to do those two. Let's see what this does. This might not work. Oh, look, it's not doing it for us. You see how it's flat? It means I select the wrong curve there. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to hide this guy. And I'm going to actually loft this straight line here with this straight line. So it lofts from here to there and from there to there. And it created that hyperbolic plane for us there. And it looks like I just have one left. So I'm going to go ahead and so far, I'm going to type select SEL and then SRF, hit enter, and then type hide. So now I've hidden all my surfaces that I've created so far. And now we just have one loft left to do, right? And it's between this line and these two lines. So let's loft those together. Now you notice, did anybody else get an error like this? Or did everybody's just loft fine? Didn't work, right? So there's a good reason why it didn't work, and it's because you have these two lines right here that are on the same directionality, right? And since they're separated, it's trying to loft those two together, and so essentially it's trying to fold in on itself, and so it's creating that error. So what we need to do is actually just rejoin these two lines back together again. So join, enter. So now I've taken those two curves and made them one again, and now when we loft, hopefully it works for us. And now it's created one smooth curvature for us. So now that we've done that, we can type show, and it looks like we have every single one of them done. I'm just going to go into render mode so you can kind of see better the shaded qualities of this project. So we've lofted all the surfaces together. It's a good thing.